When I was an architecture student, I once had a professor who would critique my own design work with the same question every single week. Where is the front door? It was a litmus test of sorts to ensure that as a designer, I was prioritizing the interests of the people who'd someday use my buildings, rather than just indulging myself with pretty little sketches and hand drawings. I spent my most recent Elden Ring playthrough interrogating the architectural design of Stormveil Castle, and I reached the following conclusion. The architecture of Stormveil Castle is kind of bad. Stormveil doesn't care whether or not you find the front door, because Stormveil was never designed with the user's interest at heart. So in that case, is it bad architecture? Absolutely. But the worst architecture often makes for the best game design. Stormveil Castle doesn't have a front door because Stormveil Castle is the front door. Let me explain. Stormveil is an architectural threshold masquerading as a castle. Think of it like an elaborate hallway or a transport hub of sorts. It exists to shepherd the player from location A to location B, and the map proves this. Up close and personal, Stormveil is a huge castle, but in the context of the lands between, it's a tiny sliver of space. And on the map, its outline shows it for what it really is. A minuscule piece of connecting tissue between Limgrave and Liurnia. Stormveil is a pinch point. It operates as a threshold straddling two sides of the map, so Stormveil is a transitional space. But how do we get into it? If we trace the footprint of the castle and the ground around it, we can identify 6 potential front doors. The walkway opening, where we get hit with the location title, the gatehouse threshold, the side door beside the gatehouse, the walkway opening along the western elevation, the grand entrance by the Divine Tower to the east, and the back entrance toward Liurnia. The quickest and most challenging way to conquer Stormveil is to rush straight through the gatehouse, across the courtyard, and run directly to the Godric boss fight. You can do it in about 3 minutes if you're brave enough. The second route is the scenic one, and it's usually the path I take. You're pushed along the cliffside and across the narrow external walkways of the castle, ushered into a series of corridor-like kill boxes, before finally arriving at the upper level with those wonderful views over the interior courtyards and gardens below. In my Dark Souls video, I talked about how Disneyland deploys big architectural landmarks to pull you through the park as a wayfinding technique. You see the castle, you walk towards the castle. Elden Ring does exactly this, and with Stormveil, FromSoft built the ultimate weenie. It's arguably the first structure you see when you enter the lands between. It looms over Limgrave through the entire opening of the game. For the first 10-12 hours, you exist in its shadow, always there on the skyline, reminding you of the task ahead. Stormveil is waiting, Stormveil is inevitable. So here's where it gets interesting. FromSoft built the most dominant, most inevitable feeling structure in the entire opening of the game, and then made it entirely optional. You can just walk past it. And this is what makes the architecture of Elden Ring so great. Elden Ring's architecture exists with or without you. Stormveil is one of the most architecturally interesting environments in the game, arguably one of the greatest dungeons FromSoft have ever designed, and you can skip it, because Stormveil is a microcosm of Elden Ring's entire open world design philosophy. You are a visitor in this land. There is no greeting, there is no red carpet, only pain and suffering. Welcome. And even if you opt out of the castle itself, you still have to bypass it, hogging the exterior along a cliff edge. You're occupying the same part of the map. You're not skipping the castle, you're skipping the challenge, and the game reminds you of that as the castle holds your hand along the entire route. You're now just crossing the threshold on the other side of the perimeter wall. So we've already established that Stormveil has bad architecture, but that doesn't mean it can't still be architecturally great. If a piece of work performs a single function, it's an object. If it performs 2 functions, it's design. A piece of work performing 3 functions or more is architectural, and I'd argue Stormveil is performing 4 functions simultaneously. Number 1, wayfinding. Stormveil is visible from everywhere in the opening third of the game. You can see it from below, from above, from afar. It's one of the main characters of Elden Ring, and its presence on the Limgrave skyline is haunting and foreboding, almost like it's trying to tell you something. Number 2, environmental storytelling. Stormveil is hiding something. Players who explore the castle are rewarded with rich lore and some of the best environmental storytelling I've ever experienced in a game. Why does the outer wall look diseased? Why do the birds have swords for feet? Who is this? And what is grafting? Number 3, Exploration Hub. In my Dark Souls video, I talked about compression and release at the scale of the room. In Elden Ring, FromSoftware are applying that same technique at the scale of an entire open world. Stormveil doesn't have a main door because it isn't a building in any traditional sense, it's a crossing. It spatially connects Limgrave, Liurnia and the Divine Tower, and all three can be reached from 3 different sides of the castle. Tutorial skill check. Stormveil is a skill check, and I'd argue it's where the Elden Ring experience begins proper. Its corridors train you to study the environment around you, its grand open spaces teach you to fight hordes of enemies all at once. I have explored every inch of Stormveil Castle, and to this day it continues to surprise me. Stormveil is a masterclass in architectural storytelling and remains one of the greatest achievements of modern level design. It is not just the blueprint for the rest of the game, but a blueprint for the entire industry. Stormveil is an architectural marvel, even if it is an architectural failure. Explore at your own risk, and you will always be rewarded for doing so. Just don't expect anyone to welcome you when you arrive.